Hey guys, welcome to another Warframe video, and today we're going to take a quick look at a weapon that has been in the game for about 3 years now and I still haven't made a video about it, the Atomos. Now first things first, all you have to do to get the Atomos is simply buy the blueprint from the market for 30,000 credits. Now to then build the weapon, you have to invest additional 60,000 credits, 1500 salvage, 1300 power bundles, 800 rubido and 2 argon crystals, so aside from the credit cost, the weapon is actually pretty cheap. The Atomos is a secondary beam weapon that only requires you to be Mastery rank 5 to use it, and it does 29 heat damage per tick. It consumes up to 8 rounds every second, it has perfect accuracy, 70 rounds in the magazine with 300 rounds in total and 2-second reload. It also has a decent 15% crit chance with a below average 1.7 times crit multiplier and a pretty good 21% status chance. It also comes with 1 D polarity as standard, which isn't that great unless you have a Riven that has a D polarity. Now the Atomos is kind of like a heat-based secondary version of the Amprex. It fires a beam that will chain to nearby enemies. And while I saw a lot of people just dismiss the weapon after the recent beam weapon changes, where they made it so that Ruinous Extension no longer increases the range of the chain, I don't think those people read the full patch notes, because at the same time as they were nerfing Ruinous Extension, they also buffed the base range on the weapon quite considerably. The main beam now has a range of 15 meters and the secondary beam that chains around has a range of 7 meters, which is somewhat similar to what it used to be with Ruinous Extension, so you now don't have to run Ruinous Extension, which means you have space for one more mod. This is also what prompted me to revisit the weapon and finally max it out. And I do actually mean a full maxed out build this time around, even though I'm still a little bit burned out on Forma, and that's because the weapon was an absolute joy to level via the normal version of Sanctuary Onslaught. So the setup I ended up with is a pretty straightforward 4-Forma hybrid build where I've added 4 Vs, and the mods I'm using are Hornet Strike for damage, Barrel Diffusion for multi-shot, Lethal Torrent for fire rate and multi-shot, Prime Pistol Gambit for crit chance, Prime Target Cracker for crit damage, then Scorch for heat damage and status chance, and finally Pistol Pestilence and Jolt for corrosive damage and even more status chance. Now the reason I didn't go for Prime Heated Charge, which you often see on setups like this, is because it would lower the status chance down to about 46%, which is not the best, but it would also unbalance the damage types on the weapon. It would have far more heat than corrosive, which means it would be far more likely to proc heat than corrosive. And that'd be really bad, because one of the best things about this weapon is how fast it can strip away armor on multiple targets thanks to the beam chaining around. So that's why I'm using Scorch there. And the performance is overall pretty good with the exception of high tier Corpus, because they have Proto Shields and both heat and corrosive damage does 50% less damage versus Proto Shields. So if you want to do some high level Corpus stuff, I would highly recommend you swap to Gas instead. Though that is only the case with high tier units, it absolutely melts low tier units even at level 100. I was quite impressed with the performance of the Atomos. I even took it into solo Elite Sanctuary Onslaught where I was able to clear sort of 4 to 5 zones, which is pretty impressive considering it is not a melee weapon. And I'm fairly confident that if you equip this on 4 people and you do it in a party, you will clear 8 zones. Which also means that it's very reliable for farming Star Charge. You can do high tier Nightmare missions, high tier Fissure missions, and most sorties with it as well. And the best thing about this is that you can get your hands on it very early on. It's only MR5 and it's pretty cheap. Now granted, my build is pretty expensive. It is 4 Forma, 2 primed mods, 3 dual stat mods, but you can just start off with something cheaper and use that until you get some of the better mods. So yeah, the Atomos, it was the bee's knees when it first came out. It was the new OP and everyone was using it, and it's still pretty good now. I like it and I would highly recommend you check it out. It is a very solid secondary weapon, and that's pretty much all I wanted to say. So I thank you very much for watching as always guys, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.